After recalling a certain substance, another horror TV series, Confronting, emerges. This is a film directed by Michael Shanks. The extreme impact of the visual organs and the deep inner core of emotions make the familiar horror film Black Horse. When the promise of love is hit by the impact of supernatural force, when the strong companionship becomes the entanglement of horror, a scary journey also begins. As in the trailer, we once said that we wanted Confronting, but we never thought that the price would be so cruel. The stepmother and Millie are a couple who have been in love for many years, but as time goes by, their relationship gradually falls into a stalemate. In order to save this hard-to-get love, they decided to leave their friends and work for the time being, and move to a strange village to start a new two-person world, hoping to rekindle their love in a quiet environment. However, a nightmare before departure seems to have determined that this relationship will not be peaceful. The first day the two moved to the new house, the stepmother found a pile of disgusting rat corpses on the ceiling. But when these rats were held in their palms, the stepmother always felt that their death was a bit strange. The next day, Millie found a new job in a nearby school and accidentally met their neighbor, Mike. The other party promised to take Millie and the stepmother around when they were free, to get familiar with the surrounding environment. After returning home at night, the stepmother was practicing the piano and planned to attend the concert held by her friends on Thursday. But Millie didn't want her to attend because the journey was too far. In the end, she couldn't hold her boyfriend's soft touch, so she could only promise to take him to the train station on time. The next morning, the two set off for a walk together, but they found that they had reached the end without taking a few steps. The two were a bit disappointed. At this time, the stepmother saw a path next to her. In a curious trend, she slowly approached, but she sensed a strange breath inside, and there was a bell hanging on every tree a few meters away. This seemingly endless path made a chill rise in the heart of the stepmother, as if there was some unknown danger lurking ahead. On the way back, it suddenly rained heavily in the sky. The two who had just arrived were lost in the woods, and the stepmother took out her phone to identify the direction. She didn't notice the deep pit under her feet at all. Unexpectedly, the stepmother fell down like this. After Millie found it, she immediately ran over to check it. She grabbed her boyfriend's hand and was ready to pull it up. But due to the rain, the roadside was wet. In the end, the two fell into the deep pit together. In the chaos, the stepmother accidentally lost her phone. Millie's phone also lost its signal and could not ask for help. The two were completely trapped in a lonely and desolate scene. Looking at the big bell at the top of the cave, the stepmother always felt a strange look. In the deep pit where she couldn't see her finger, the two had to find a way out as soon as possible. But no one answered for a long time. What's more, they didn't bring any food when they went out. Only a bottle of water is left in the stepmother's bag. After giving the water to his girlfriend, he came to the pool, like a wild animal, and ate it alone. However, what he didn't know was that the real scary thing had just begun. This is the mouse that the two remembered a few days ago. Millie asked him why he could smell the smell as soon as he entered the house, and precisely find the source of the smell. It turned out that the stepmother had experienced the same thing when she was a child. Her father was also found dead in the ceiling lantern. She still remembers this. And the reason why the stepmother is so sensitive to the smell of decay is that her father died in bed many years ago. And the crazy mother was like this. She slept with a corpse for several days. When the stepmother found it, the corpse was already decayed. The bad smell that came out made her never forget it in her life. The two slept tiredly at night. Who would have thought that a strange sound would come at this time? The stepmother woke up and opened her eyes. The scene in front of her shocked her. The stepmother was shocked to find that the moment her body rose with her breathing frequency, it could drive the whole pit. It's like the deep pit in front of her is a part of her body. What's more strange is that her sleeping girlfriend was also starting to be violent. A pair of terrible hands appeared behind her. When the stepmother regained consciousness from the panic, she found that it was just a nightmare. It was already dawn at this time. The stepmother and the stepmother were in a good mood and ready to look for an exit. But when they got up, something strange happened. I didn't expect that the two of them would just sleep for a night. The skin on their legs was tightly glued together. They thought they had just accidentally stood up late at night. They didn't know that their bodies were undergoing terrible changes. Even the clothes next to them were stuck on the stone. But fortunately, the rain had stopped. The two of them tried their best and finally crawled up along the cliff. Because they slept in the deep pit for a night, Millie returned home and felt pain all over her body, so she wanted her boyfriend to help massage her. But the stepmother looked at the body in front of her, and there was a feeling in her heart that could not be expressed. The force in her hand was getting heavier and heavier, until Millie couldn't help but scream. She suddenly regained consciousness from the panic. What's more terrible is that from that day on, strange things happened one after another. When the stepmother was taking a shower, her brain suddenly went blank and her body began to be out of control, until the last crack appeared on the wall of the bathroom. She only showed a painful and terrified expression on her face. However, the more strange reason was not only this. After that, the stepmother suspected that she had a strange disease. The stepmother found a psychiatrist and asked if her family had a mental illness. To this question, the stepmother denied and did not want to admit that her mother had a mental illness. The doctor's statement was no longer necessary. According to the description of the stepmother, she guessed that it was perhaps yesterday's experience that made her panic. Anxiety may be trapped by such an idea. Then it developed into a deformed panic attack. This is a muscle relaxant in academic terms. It will slow down the activity of the central nervous system. In this way, the stepmother was diagnosed with panic disorder. Before leaving, the doctor told her that a couple had gone missing not long ago, and the location was the deep pit yesterday. The rescue teams searched for several days in a row, but in the end, there was no news at all. After the stepmother learned of this, she combined the strange phenomenon on her body and realized that the matter was not so simple. So when she got home, she turned on the computer and searched for the details of the missing couple. However, she did not find any abnormality. At this time, a knock was heard outside the door. It was Millie's colleague, Mike, who came to visit. The two strangers in life had a good relationship with their neighbors. Maybe in the future they can help each other. So they called Mike to their house. During dinner, the two talked about yesterday's experience. The stepmother took the opportunity to ask the bell in the forest, and said that she always felt that something was strange. After Mike heard this, he told the two that there was a small church there. But a few years ago, I don't know why, it collapsed suddenly. Even the people inside disappeared. No one knows what happened there. It was only later that some people guessed that it was the bad weather that caused the building to collapse. The bishops chose to leave. However, Mike's words on the table always felt like he was deliberately hiding something terrible. After Mike left, the stepmother began to be jealous. Seeing that the girl was charming, he couldn't help but kiss her directly. Unexpectedly, the two's lips were close together. Millie, in a panic, quickly pushed her away. She thought the stepmother was biting her on purpose. She didn't expect that something similar had happened in the pit. The stepmother wanted to explain to her girlfriend in time, but in the eyes of the other party, all the excuses were quibbles. After the two fell asleep at night, Millie suddenly felt that her boyfriend had crushed her hair. But she reminded the other party for a long time, but there was no response. She was terrified to find that her hair had been sucked into her boyfriend's mouth, and the other party's body also began to twitch violently. The whole person looked extremely strange. In a panic, the two pulled out their hair in a row. Looking at the torn hair next to it, Millie finally realized the seriousness of the problem. The next day, the stepmother was going to attend the concert, but Millie didn't want her to leave, because she hadn't figured out what had happened last night. She was worried that her boyfriend's body would be eaten. But under the constant insistence of the other party, she still drove the stepmother to the train station. However, what surprised the two was that when Millie had just left by car, the stepmother's body appeared abnormal again. With the pain in her legs and back, she couldn't take care of the guitar or the piano at all. At the same time, Millie returned to school and began to go to class. But just when she was about to leave school, she accidentally found a strange picture on the table. The two puppies in the picture were stuck together, which made Millie think of the feeling of kissing. At this time, she suddenly saw the ground outside the window, which was originally sent to the train station. While walking to school, Millie saw her boyfriend's face full of panic, worried that his situation would be discovered. So the stepmother took him to the bathroom. As soon as the two were about to leave, they found that there was no one in the bathroom. The two puppies were stuck together for no reason. What's more embarrassing is that there was a sudden footstep outside. As soon as the two responded, Millie's colleague Mike came looking for them. It turned out that there were students who wanted to go to the bathroom. As a result, I heard a strange voice as soon as I came in. There was no way but to find the teacher to check. As for Millie going to the men's bathroom, Mike was confused. He almost treated her as a pervert, but he didn't say anything. He just reminded her to remember to go to the staff bathroom next time. After going home, the two had a fierce quarrel. Millie was worried that what happened today might lead to the school dismissing her, so she blamed everything on the stepmother. She thought that if she had gone on a normal date today, these strange things wouldn't have happened. After the stepmother heard it, she hurriedly explained to her girlfriend that her brain seemed to be unable to communicate with her body. She always did something against her will. This includes going to school to find Millie today, but at this time, Millie couldn't hear it at all. After the quarrel, she left with a sigh. Then she came to her colleague Mike's house and wanted to explain to him what had happened at school today. Mike said that he didn't care at all. Then he invited Millie into the house. Millie looked at him without hesitation. She said that ever since she moved here with her boyfriend, there have been big and small problems in their relationship. But to ask them if they still love each other, Millie said without hesitation that she loved her stepmother very much. It's just that the two have been together for a long time and have forgotten their original appearance. Plato once wrote in the book that the Greeks believed that people were born with 4 hands, 4 legs, and 2 heads. Later, Zeus was worried about the rise of human power, so he divided it into 2. Let's look for the lost again with our lives. Mike comforted Millie. If you find it, don't let it go easily. Just when Mike was telling his own love story, Millie suddenly noticed that her stepmother appeared outside the window. She was worried that her boyfriend was jealous, so she hurriedly said goodbye to Mike and went home with her stepmother. Late at night, her stepmother opened her face again and disappeared. For the recent 2-on-3 habits, she always felt that all this seemed to be connected. She found the social accounts of the couple before her death and carefully checked the last post they had posted. In the end, she found that behind the two was also that strange leader. But just when she was thinking about the truth that might be buried behind this matter, suddenly there was a sound of Millie's footsteps behind her. Just as the stepmother turned around, the scene in front of her was so shocking that she couldn't speak. Millie was lying on the door and acting strangely. Although there was a layer of blurred glass, she could still see the strange expression on her face. The stepmother held back her fear and, slowly and courageously, opened the glass door in front of her. Not waiting for her to see clearly, Millie fell on her. In a hurry, the stepmother slapped her. Millie just woke up for a moment. After that, she explained to her boyfriend that it might be a dream. But after so many times, the stepmother was very clear that the matter was not as simple as she had imagined. She began to tell Millie the details of the matter. She said that the reason their bodies appeared abnormal was that they spent the night in the deep pit, and the place where the couple went missing was also there. This is not a simple coincidence. The stepmother said that the reason they looked fine during the day was that the body produced a large amount of blood. Millie's kidney cells temporarily suppressed the unknown thing in her body. But when she was mentally tired at night, she would directly control her body and do something incomprehensible. Although Millie could sense something was wrong, she still didn't want to believe it. She even planned to kick the stepmother out of the house when her parents came to visit her on the weekend. Then the two of them went back to their rooms to sleep. But what surprised them was that what happened just now was just an appetizer for tonight. The real horror was still behind. The stepmother in the living room just closed her eyes. She heard a loud noise around her. Only then did the body begin to unconsciously twist and gradually become uncontrollable. It seemed to be pushing her to her girlfriend's room. At the same time, the door to Millie's room was opened. The stepmother was terrified to find that her girlfriend's condition was worse than her own. As the two of them got closer and closer, the moment when their fingers merged came a severe pain. They found that their fingers were completely integrated. Just like twins, they couldn't be separated at all. At this time, the stepmother thought of a drug. It was a muscle relaxant that the psychologist had opened at that time. Millie tried her best to find it in the drawer. As a result, she accidentally spilled a drop. There was no way for the two of them to lie on the ground and apply the drug while covering their skin with clothes. Both feet were used at the same time. In the end, she tried her best to finally pull herself out of each other's bodies, but there was still a little bit of skin sticking together. After dawn, Millie tied her boyfriend to the chair and planned to separate the two of them. She could only pour half a bottle of whiskey on the stepmother, hoping that the alcohol would temporarily relieve her pain. At first, the stepmother said nothing because the tool that Millie was going to use was an electric drill. But when she saw the skin of the two of them merging at a visible speed, the stepmother could only bite her teeth to say yes. After that, the house became a mess. At this moment, Millie finally believed her boyfriend's word. In order to avoid similar things from happening again, the stepmother planned to return to that cave and tried to find some clues there. And Millie decided to go to the hospital to ask the doctor for help to see what was going on in her body. She found her car key before she set off. Yesterday, she accidentally fell at Mike's house, so she was in a hurry to look for Mike. But after entering the house, she found that there was no one inside. But the strange thing is that a video was playing on the TV in the hallway. Under the drive of curiosity, Millie slowly approached and found a big bell on the screen that was the same as the one on the top of the cave. Then Mike appeared on the screen when he was young. At that time, he was having a wedding with his partner, and the wedding venue was the church he mentioned before. Under the witness of many believers, the two completed the sacred wedding. Then they entered the cave together and scratched each other's arm. Just when Millie was staring at this scene, Mike suddenly appeared behind her silently. It turns out that he already knew all this. It can even be said that he made the ghost. You would be so bored. Millie was frightened by his crazy look and ran away in a panic. Fortunately, he didn't catch up with her regardless of everything. At the same time, the ghost had arrived at the cave. After entering, he took a flashlight to observe everywhere. The strange patterns on his head are not only frightening, but also frightening. Just when he was panicking, a pair of hands suddenly appeared and grabbed his ankle. The unprotected ghost was pulled away directly. Without waiting for him to react, a twisted figure in the corner slowly came out. It's like a ghost in hell who wants to go to the abyss. Looking at the monster in front of him, he touched a dagger in panic. Without hesitation, he stabbed the enemy. Finally, the monster was in pain, and he crawled out of the cave. After a while, Millie and the ghost met at the door. Maybe it was too much stimulation just now, causing the two not to be controlled in broad daylight. The body was approaching the other party at a very fast speed. The body was approaching the other party at a breakneck speed. Fortunately, they grabbed the railing on the side of the road in time, so they didn't hit each other directly. At this time, the ghost let Millie stay calm and try to focus on getting rid of the control. With their hands slowly loosening the railing, the two's bodies gradually returned to normal. At this time, the ghost suddenly touched the dagger behind him, saying that he had thought of a way to solve all this. As soon as he sighed, he asked Millie for a confession, saying that they had been together for so many years and could not be separated. If there is no Millie in his life in the future, he doesn't even know what the meaning is. After saying that, he asked the other party to close his eyes and then took out the dagger. As long as one of the two died, they could get rid of all this. But when the ghost was about to do it, he suddenly found that Millie's arm was covered with a lot of blood. What's more terrible is that the blood spread all the way and directly climbed onto the ghost's face. When the two reacted, Millie had fainted due to excessive blood loss. In order to keep the girlfriend alive, the ghost chose the only direct method, which is to merge the two bodies. As the bodies merged, the two completely merged into one and became monsters like in the cave. A few days later, Millie's parents came to the town to visit their daughter. However, the one who opened the door was a stranger. Since then, Millie and the ghost have also become missing people. The story ends here. The ghost and Millie live together with life. When love becomes an unbreakable shackle, it will eventually become a cage of flesh and blood. From the skin to the eyes, every entanglement is the cause of love. When dependence becomes control, companionship becomes shackles. No matter how deep the promise is, there will always be a monster devouring itself. The bell in the cave is not the source of the curse, but a warning to blind love. True love should be an independent starlight for each other, not a flame devouring each other. Otherwise, no matter how deeply in love, it will eventually turn into an eternal tragedy. If you are interested, you can watch the original film. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.